What's going on, jumpers? I am Coach Nate KG, and this is a skill tutorial on the boxer step jump rope skill. The boxer step has a lot of different benefits to it, and there's many different ways you can stylize it for your liking later. If you are a jumper that is just getting started, that is ready to build up a solid foundation so you can transition to any other style of jump rope later, this is the tutorial for you. Okay, let's get started. Before doing this skill, you should be able to do a single leg jump, a few reps on each leg. So at least maybe 3 to 5 jumps just on one leg at a time. So the boxer step is really all about distributing our weight from side to side so we don't tax both of our calves at the same time. I'm sure if you've done extended periods of single rope jumping and just doing one open with both feet on the ground, you've noticed that your calves tend to hurt pretty quickly and it gets kind of sore. The boxer step is a great way to alleviate that because you move the center of mass from left to right and you kind of keep things distributed evenly. Okay, so when we really break down the main tips of the boxer skill, we really need to identify that one leg is our non-lifting leg, so it stays pretty close to the ground, and the other one is our lifting leg. So when we look at what's happening with this skill, we'll see that we start with both feet together, we take a small jump and lift. One leg stays pretty close to the ground and the other one lifts up pretty high. We see a very big difference in the height of both feet. Now this happens during the air, but then as we come back down, we notice that the non-lifting leg will tap the ground first and the lifting leg will come down and strike the ground and then pop back up into the air. This is what is very tricky about this skill, is that you're really doing a lot with your feet in a really small amount of time. So again, we jump up with our feet together and then we split them. One leg goes up really high, one stays close to the ground. The one that's close to the ground then comes down and hits the ground. The other one taps the ground and lifts back up. The reason why it lifts back up is because we use that to then transition to the other side. So as the lifting leg taps the ground, it comes back up, and in doing that lift, that is the energy we need to use to then switch to the other side, where what was our lifting leg at first now becomes our non-lifting leg, goes to the other side, gets close to the ground, and then we see our original non-lifting leg that was close to the ground now switches over, stays up high, and then lags and taps the ground after we switch to the side. So there's a lot happening here, but the main tip really is to break it down very slowly and look at how, though our feet start together, when we lift off the ground, we see a difference in height, and then the one that's lower to the ground, of the non-lifting leg, comes down sooner, and the other foot taps the ground and lifts up again. Another huge tip is to make sure that you start executing this skill in the most strict version of what it is. It's very particular, and if you start with the strict version, you really get an idea of what your feet are supposed to be doing. You can then get looser and looser over time and adapt it to what you want to do with your jump roping. The biggest thing to avoid with this skill is rushing through it really quickly. A lot of people want to just get in it, get started, and they kind of trip up really quickly because it's very cognitively intense and you really have to think through what you're doing. So really take the time to slow down and don't rush through this quickly. All right, let's get to actually practicing this skill. So to begin, we're actually going to execute what we discussed in the main tips section. So to begin, we'll put our feet together and then we'll decide which leg will be non-lifting and which leg will lift up first. So let's use our left leg as the non-lifting leg and our right leg as the lifting leg. So we'll start with feet together. We will do a small jump. We will let our left leg stay close to the ground, very minimal flexion in our knee, and we'll let our right leg lift up much higher with a lot more flexion in our knee. And as we come down, after we've done that flexion in the air, we'll see that our left leg will touch the ground first, our right leg will then tap the ground, and then we'll pull it up just a little bit. We don't have to be too aggressive with this, but it's good to remember that this motion is not necessarily dropping our foot, but rather tapping the ground and lifting up again. Now the next part of this progression will be to do the exact same thing on the other side of our body. So we'll choose our right leg as the non-lifting leg, and we'll choose our left leg as the lifting leg. Okay, so we will actually begin with feet on the ground the exact same way. We'll lift up a little bit, but this time our right foot will stay close to the ground, very minimal knee flexion, and our left leg will raise up much higher with a lot more knee flexion. Now this will all happen in the air, but then as we come down, again, our right foot's gonna stay much closer to the ground and really barely lift off the ground, and our left leg will now come down, tap next to our foot, and then lift up just slightly afterwards. All right, so from here, we're actually going to put these two together and take this motion and use that slight tap and lift as the transition into the other side, again, without the rope, just practicing the boxer step where we lift up, we go tap up, switch sides, and then come down, and then tap up, switch sides again. You can do basically 5 to 10 reps of this just to kind of get used to the motion. Make sure that you have your timing down correctly. Make sure that you are really exaggerating the motion right now so you really understand what is happening as we're moving from side to side. Now from here, we're going to add the jump rope back into this. We're gonna make sure that the tempo stays nice and slow and controlled, and that way we can really ensure that we're doing all of the movements quickly without rushing through it. Now, after you've got this part locked down, you can increase the speed. You can really stylize it however you want to. The way to make this look really smooth and to flow is to take that very exaggerated motion that we were doing and minimize it, get really small and get really efficient with our movements. You can really approach this however you want to, but just know that we start with a nice exaggerated motion switching from side to side, and then from there, just make that smaller, make it less energy, make it more efficient, and then that way you can kind of transition this into really any style you want. You'll notice some jump ropers kind of go back and forth. They don't really lift their legs up, but they just simply tap to the side of their foot. They actually sometimes almost even jump at the same time, but you can see they're shifting their weight from one side of their body to the next, which really just helps save energy and really save their calves. All right, so if this tutorial was helpful for you, send it off to a friend that you think might also enjoy it. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below or hit me up on Instagram at Nate_KG. All right, guys, I will see you in the next skill tutorial.